I moved to Costa Rica about 2.5 years ago. I first lived on the Guanacaste Peninsula in a town called Santa Teresa. I've since moved away from there and now I live on the coast elsewhere. But I was living in Austin, Texas, and I was missing, this is going to sound strange to people, I was missing flow state. So I started skiing in my early 20s. When I was 21 or 22, I thru hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, which means I walked from Mexico to Canada. And after that trip with my friend that I hiked with, I moved to Telluride and I started skiing in Southwest Colorado. And I never had skied before in my life. And I thought, this is really cool. It just kind of unlocked something for me that I'd never had before, which is this flow state, this idea that moving across snow, preferably powder snow, did interesting things to my brain. It just tickled my brain in unique ways, and it brought incredible amounts of joy to my life. And so for the next 6 years, I basically chased flow state, downhill mountain biking, skiing, climbing, mountaineering. And eventually I went back to graduate school, to physician assistant school, where I worked as a cardiology PA for 4 years before returning to medical school. And that was the beginning of my medical journey. But so I had like 6 years of this very unique time in my life where I was just doing something where in the moment, in flow state, you just sort of lose yourself. It's so fun. It's just, for lack of a better word, it is just pure joy as a child. And you're so in the moment because you have to just focus on what you're doing. Fast forward to 2.5 years ago, I was in Austin. I love the people there, but I was just missing this flow state. I had a foil board that I would take out to Lake Travis, but it wasn't quite the same. I'd started surfing a few years before that in Seattle when I was in my residency, which is about the worst place to ever learn to surf. But even though I'd probably only been on a handful of legitimate waves in my whole life, after leaving Seattle and moving to Austin, that feeling was just really meaningful to me. And this may sound, I don't know what word I want to use there. It may sound trivial to people, but I've come to realize that in my own life, the more fun I'm having and the more joy that I experience on a daily basis, the more productive I am in my work. So the more of my passions, my real passions, not my work passions, but my just hobbies, my quote unquote frivolous passions that I pursue, the more productive I am in my creative work in the world. So I think that getting to surf, getting to skateboard, getting to do these things over the last 5 years has been a key component of all the work that I've done in the world, writing a book, building companies, podcasting. Like, this is what keeps me going. And it's really the antidote to burnout for me. So in Austin, I was feeling kind of burned out. I just didn't have enough flow state. I couldn't get this. And maybe I could have found a boat or rented a boat or found friends with a boat and gone wake surfing. But I was on my way back from Tanzania visiting the Hadza, and I came to Costa Rica on a vacation and ended up just staying. So it was an 8-day vacation. I got to surf in Santa Teresa. I loved it. I got to see the sunrise. I think I got to experience firsthand a lot of the things that you were describing that I didn't even know that I was missing in Austin. I was up with the sun. I was grounding in the ocean. My circadian rhythm was programmed because I was getting sunlight in my eyes. I was watching sunsets. It was community. I was in the ocean surfing, flow state. And just so everyone knows, I'm a pretty mediocre surfer, but I really love it. I'm not great, but I'm getting better, but I really like it. And so it was just the realization, like, wow, this is the best life I've ever lived. I want to keep doing this. And so I did. So I just, 8 days turned into 2 months, turned into 3 months, turned into a year. And now I live in Costa Rica. Yeah. And thankfully I can do my work virtually. So I don't have to be somewhere in the United States.
Did anybody else move down with you, or was this a solo thing?
Solo, bro. Just charging. Yeah.
And that's why I brought this up, because we know community is such an important piece for, it sounds like you're in a really good mental place and you're getting this flow benefit. And I'm assuming there's a great community there, but how is that part of your life panned out since, pulling yourself out of Austin and plopping yourself in this new area? Have you been able to quickly make a new community and group of friends there?
Not quickly, but it's happening. I think surfing helps. because there's so much camaraderie in surfing. You're out there in the ocean, especially when the waves get overhead or moderately large. You're just out there with friends and you're watching each other get destroyed by waves, or you're watching each other get a great wave and you're cheering each other on, and you meet people on the beach watching the surf. It's just a very tight-knit community of people. And my community now expands out from there. And everywhere I've gone in Costa Rica, it's really started with the surfing community, meeting people on the beach and in the ocean. One of the nice things about living on the coast is that you see people on the beach and you see people you know. There's also farmers markets here. So I see people at farmers markets. So there's just this different pace of life, and there's an ease of intersection of our lives, right? I live in a small town, and so there's people that I know, and I'm very likely to bump into those people in certain places. So it's this ease of community. People know people, and I think when you're living in Costa Rica, especially as an expat, so someone from the United States, you've made this intentional choice. When you find other people, whether it's families or single people, you think, why are you here? What are you doing here? Everyone has an interesting story. They want to live a different life. They want to live in the jungle. They want clean air, clean water, proximity to surfing, whatever. It lends itself to just very human connections and commonalities, which is pretty cool. So it doesn't feel as separated, right? Like we're just not as separate from other people here. We wear less clothes. We're mostly barefoot. I'm shirtless. This is very rare that I'm even wearing a shirt for this podcast. You see people all over the place. So it feels more like being a human to me in a lot of ways. And I think that if people are listening to this and thinking, that's great for you, Paul, but I could never do that, all I would say is there's lessons in all of that can be employed wherever you are. You can get sun in the morning wherever you live. You can get into the sun in the summer. You can go to bodies of water. You can ground. You can touch grass. And I think that if I were to move back to the United States and live anywhere in the United States or Canada, I'm not a Canadian citizen, or anywhere, I think that I would try to seek out some of the same things that I've created here for myself. Places where I'm going to connect with people who are like-minded kind of easily, whether that's a skate park or a Whole Foods or some sort of community center where I'm going to intersect with people. That's very meaningful for me. It happens organically here, but I know in Austin now, there's a couple of places popping up where people who are like-minded end up hanging out with sauna and cold plunge or gyms. I think if you can find a gym where people are sort of like-minded, there are some gyms with a certain ethos that's different than other gyms, right? So that kind of stuff, I think you can create these things wherever you are. I'm quite grateful to be able to do it here in Costa Rica, but I think it's scalable to most places. And I think wherever I would live now, I would want to be by water, because being here has really reminded me of the benefits of that. Austin had some water, and when I used to live there, I would be at Barton Springs all the time. When I go back to visit, you can find me at Barton Springs. So if you guys are listening to this, and if you go to Barton Springs, you'll probably see me there when I'm in Austin. I see people there all the time.
Well, hearing your story here, you've at least alluded to the fact that it's crossed your mind that you might move back to the US or move away from Costa Rica. How likely do you feel it'll be that you'll be in Costa Rica long term?
Pretty likely.
Any downsides of moving there?
Sure. In Costa Rica, there's this saying, pura vida, and we could joke, there's these pura vida problems. So most adulting, quote unquote, things are 2 to 3 times harder to do here. It's harder to pay your electric bill. It's harder to pay your internet bill. It's hard to get your car inspected. Cars break down here. So there's definitely downsides, but for me, it's totally worth it. And once you figure out how to do it all, it's pretty doable. I live kind of up in the mountains, a few kilometers from the ocean. So power goes out sometimes. Internet goes out sometimes. I think landslides happen. A lot of roads are dirt. Things happen. It's different. It's definitely different. It's not all roses here for sure, but it's a different type of life. I think that I've gotten to a place now where I've been able to create a space that's a little bit more insulated from those things. I have backup batteries in my house and a generator, and I haven't figured out the Wi-Fi yet. When I get Starlink, that'll be great. if you find people in the community, you can lean on them to teach you where a good mechanic is and how to do the things you need to do for your car, or how to pay your internet bill and your other things. There's a whole industry that's sprung up around people helping other people move to Costa Rica and Central America, because it's sort of a headache. And believe me, when I first moved to Santa Teresa, my power and internet got shut off. So I bought a house in Santa Teresa and now sold it. But I think within a month and a half of moving into that house, my power and internet got shut off, because I thought, I don't even know how to pay this. And I just woke up one day, I don't have internet, I don't have power. What the heck? I don't even know how to do this. So you can't just do it online. It's very difficult.
If you enjoyed that clip, press here for the full episode. I'll see you over there.
The carnivore community hates me. The ketogenic community hates me. The vegans don't like what I'm saying. You can give someone a diet of pure white sugar and rice, and their diabetes gets better. You get significantly less benefits from working out.